Okay.
Okay, it says go live. It says setting up your meeting.
Mine says meeting is now streaming live on Facebook.
Okay, well, I don't think it's streaming live yet. Redirect
Okay.
to the Facebook page.
Okay.
I don't even know where my thing, oh, okay, well, I guess we're streaming live.
Okay.
Let me put on the page here.
Okay.
So that way, if anybody shows up, I can see who's there.
Right.
La la la. Of course, post.
Cool.
Okay, there you go. I got it.
Awesome.
Okay.
Okay.
So how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm happy to see you.
Yes, same
Yeah,
here.
of course. Yes.
Same here. So this is a series called Let's Chat About. And so today we are both having a chat about loneliness.
Okay.
And the reason I thought it was cool to talk about it was because I feel like people confuse loneliness and being alone. Like people think that if they're going to be alone, they're going to be lonely,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is misunderstanding. I don't think that it really equates to it. And I thought it would be a great idea to talk about it,
Mm-hmm.
being that we're both single women
Mm-hmm.
and that we're very familiar with being alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you what I originally, like when I first looked at it, like I was like, okay, let me look at it. I was kind of like, you know what? Loneliness is a dirty word. I don't want to hear it. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, no, not loneliness.
Yeah.
And I could say up until the weekend, I wouldn't have admitted that I sometimes am lonely.
Yeah.
But what I can see when I am lonely, most of the time, what it looks like is just a series of thoughts that I have, like a series of I'm alone, and then I say whatever, well, I should find somebody to talk to, and then I can't talk to somebody, and then being alone becomes so big, and then it turns into, oh my God, I'm so lonely now. And then I go into I shouldn't bother people. Right. Okay, well, it's not their fault. Like they have a life. Oh, I don't have a life. Like I go into this.
Oh yeah, it gets big. Yeah.
Yeah, it gets humongous, right?
Yeah.
And I have gone through different phases. I've been single a long time, so I have been through different phases throughout the years.
Yeah.
And now my experience tells me just call somebody.
Yeah.
My experience tells, okay, look, just get out of your head and either go take a walk or go call somebody, like find somebody, like, plenty of people. So just talk,
Oh, that is so cool. It's like this bigness went straight down to something so simple, like pick up the phone and call somebody. That's amazing.
Yeah. What is your experience?
Oh my gosh. So I'm also single, and I've been single for, I got out of a relationship about, I think it was 3 years ago, but have been single on, many years of my adult life. And I think like what we were talking about earlier, I think that also it's part of my identity that is like, wait a minute, what's that made up of, or has been part of my identity. There have been times where it seems like a problem and more at times that it doesn't seem like a problem, because so that just speaks to what's going on up here and the stories that I'm making up around it innocently. And I really get that it's completely coming from inside. If I'm saying something like I'm feeling lonely, or I am lonely, I'm feeling lonely, to me, I see that differently as I am lonely, you
I
know.
agree.
Hmm. And, you know, I can think of examples of people, I can think of my own examples, I can think of people, examples of people in my life, friends, family members, etc., of people feeling lonely when they're in a relationship.
Yeah.
So you're in a relationship, whether you're living with somebody or, you know, committed to somebody or what have you. I mean, I feel like I hear a lot from friends who within a relationship feel lonely. So to me, that's points to then it can't be an experience of, you know, it has to be coming from inside. And, you know, and then me personally, um, it's interesting because to me also, I feel like it's so natural and human to want to connect with people. I feel like it's natural. We want to share, we want to connect with people, we want intimacy. And so I think it's totally natural. But I also think that, like, if it's kind of like what you were saying when you pick up the phone and call somebody, I feel like while I live alone, for example, right now, I don't often, sometimes, but I don't often feel lonely because there's so many people in my life that I feel really close to. It might not be, you know, a romantic partner because I don't have one right now, but I have friends that, you know, there's such a connection there. We have so much fun. We talk about all sorts of things. We laugh a lot. We get deep, you know, we go deep with each other. And so connections for me is like the most important thing.
Mm.
And I notice, like, when I, you know, like when you were saying, when you pick up the phone and call somebody, um, I feel like what it does is pop me out often of my own personal narration that's going on inside, about, it could be about whatever. And so what I feel like, especially around laughter, when I'm talking to friends or whatever, and then we start laughing, to me that feels like it's truly being present, because, you know, I'm not thinking about the present or the past, particularly when I'm laughing with somebody. And that puts me right in the present moment. And I really appreciate and love that. So, you know, throughout my life, I've gone through different phases of my thinking around being alone and my thinking around being, you know, and around loneliness. And so I agree with you. Like, I see them as separate for sure.
Yeah.
So, and then I see connection as something, I don't know if we need it for survival, but I think that it's totally human and normal. And even in it, maybe even, you know, when I go to the coffee shop around the corner from where I live, and that even just feels nice, you know, because I know the people that work there, they know me. We don't have really deep conversations, but it doesn't matter. It's that connection that feels really nice. So
It,
yeah, that's
it's
kind of my initial thoughts around that.
it's interesting, you know, like I said, I've been single since a very long time.
Mhm.
It's over 20 years. And I get how, you know, like there's a lot of years in 20 years.
Mm.
And there's a lot of looking inside and reaching in. And you know, as you're sharing that it's about connection, I can see that I'm also different with my collections, my, you know, like connecting to one another. I had I remember having a breakthrough, like an insight. Like I used to think that, you know, in order to be connected, I needed other people to connect to me.
Mhm.
You know, like,
Mm.
you know, I had this thing where, well, I'm not connected because nobody's connecting to me,
Ah,
right?
interesting. Yeah.
And then I saw that I'm the one not connecting to others, you know? Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
And as I'm looking at it, how I'm seeing how, you know, I'm not as often lonely, because I used to be very lonely.
Mm.
You know, I used to have tons of friends and I was lonely.
Mm.
Mm. Yeah, and I wasn't just I was just not connecting to them. I
Yeah.
was not connecting to, you know, people. It's very interesting to see.
So I'd love to hear more about that. Like, why do you feel like you weren't connecting to people?
Well, I'm sure that there was like a fear. Like if I look at my younger years, you know, there was a fear of being hurt. And I also went through a phase where I had no boundaries, like with no one. Like, so everybody knew everything. But then when everybody knows everything, like they don't know that they've got sensitive information in their hands and that they
Yeah.
can, so I get hurt.
Yeah.
Like how can you use, I said that to you in confidence. How could you use that,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then you kind of like, okay, well, from now on, I'm going to protect myself,
Yeah. Yep.
And so, well, I'm not going to connect, you know,
Right.
or you'd connect and get rejected. If I look at my younger years, I remember this one guy, you know, I was so young. I think I was 13 or 14,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, I saw him a weekend and we fell in love and he gave me his ring. And the next weekend I couldn't go see him. And my brother came back that weekend and he said to me, he was kissing everybody at the party, you know? So, there's things that happen in your life that you just make up shit and then you decide something definite
Yeah.
in that
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So I
Right.
think that there was a lot of times where I did connect as a young girl. Like just to give you an idea, my mother, the cops brought me home 3 times when I was like 2 or 3, because my mother had lost me because I was like, let me go visit. Let me go see. Hi, how are you? Okay. I decided one day, I remember my mom was like, I was looking for you. The cops brought you back. You went for a walk with your boyfriend. And I was 3. I had a boyfriend. We were walking, you know?
So cute.
So it's
Yeah.
kind of like there are these things, there's these moments in our lives where we decide things.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then, and then we live, it's like a definite. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah, totally. It's like the world becomes like your past experience glasses,
yeah,
like the glass, what that we sort of can bring into the future without even realizing it. I feel like some of those events, stories, whatever, are so sneaky, so sneaky, but they're in there.
yeah,
And we sort of bring them into the future with us. And I think and then, build up the armor, build up the shield
yeah. You
about
know,
something we've innocently created in our head.
now I want your take on this. So, we're going to have this chat on another time. People
Yeah.
who are listening who want to have this chat, we're having a chat about our parents or our mothers in
Mm-hmm.
a future chat in June.
Yes.
But um, I, I I want to talk about, the elderly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I feel like I get sad. I get sad when I think of, like, there's a lot of elderlies that are lonely,
Yeah.
and we know what we know, right? We've been studying the the power of our mind for a while now, right? We're
Yeah.
looking at our mental health, and we're looking at that place beyond thought, like we
Mm.
can go there, right? And when I think of the elderly that are lonely and that are alone like, I understand how they can equate alone and loneliness.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's very, yeah, it's very easy to confuse both of them.
Yeah.
Like I don't, I wish I could help them. I just don't know how, right? I don't know how I could help like, not just the elderly. There's also there are people that are sick, that are confined, right? They're Like now we're all confined,
Right.
right? With the pandemic, we're all living what some people, this is just their lives. This is
Yeah.
how they live, you
Right.
know?
Right.
And that makes me a little sad when I think about it. What do you
It,
think?
totally. Well, and we'll talk more about our mothers in our next call, but you know, it's so interesting because I've obviously known my mom my entire life, and I've watched her also struggle with loneliness, both being married and being single, being in a, not so much, I was pretty young, so I guess I couldn't remember that point, but both being single and being in a long-term relationship, she often felt lonely, which is so interesting, right? So, so that's one thing. But then also, I've seen the power of connection too, as she has dementia and she cannot remember these thoughts or these stories that have been part of, you know, her identity or whatever you want to call it for so long. And so she is more
Herself.
present herself, which is this sort of, she's opened up in ways that it's so interesting to watch. I did see that when we moved her from her house to a nursing home a little over 2 years ago, I noticed what a big difference it was. If going, she was living with her partner at the time, but he was still working, and so she was alone a lot. And now she's in the nursing home, and she's, you know, surrounded by people all the time, and I can see how much that has helped her. She definitely has moments for sure of um, feeling, I think, isolated, and she'll tell me that sometimes. But I think it's more now when they're physically having to be quarantined because of coronavirus. The transition was horrible. Like she did not, she wanted to go home. She didn't understand where she was. She was so confused. She hated the first 6 to 8 weeks of being in the nursing home. But once she got sort of adjusted, and by adjust, I think sort of more into a routine, and she frankly was more engaged and in the moment with activities. So she was going, you know, and she still does, has like music class or whatever. She has art class. She has trivia. They take them, if they're physically able, to the gym, and they'll do physical therapy. So she's pretty busy in the sense that she's engaged in the moment and with other human beings. And again, because of so many stories around her identity, not just with loneliness, but with so many different reasons, have sort of gone away because she can't remember those anymore. She has opened up to being more present to all different kinds of people and connecting with all different kinds of people, which is so interesting and fascinating to watch. So I think that there's something so powerful about that, you know, presence and being with a human being without the thinking, without the judgments, without the opinions, without the stories. So it's been hugely a fascinating study for me to understand and see about humans in general and about the power of thought and presence and connection. So you know, and again, like she doesn't really ever say that she doesn't use the words "I'm lonely" anymore. She used to a lot. She used to a lot. It's fascinating. So yeah. So I think that elderly, I think, can really benefit just being in presence of other people. I really do.
Yeah. I think it's not just present of like of course being in presence of other people is fantastic, but like if we could just be present to the moment right now, right? Like I can see it that, you know, I've been, like I said when we began the call, I
Mm-hmm.
spent a lot of time alone, and the times that I was suffering and then in the mode of lonely, you know,
Mm-hmm.
when I wasn't just having lonely thoughts, I was lonely. I
Yeah.
incorporated it.
Yeah.
It was my body was lonely.
Right.
Um, it was because I was entertaining all those thoughts of why I'm alone,
Yeah.
why am I alone? I'm alone because of this. And then, yeah, but I can't change that. Well, and I can see how I try to change that. And then,
Mhm.
based on that thinking, like I think about all these single people that are afraid to be alone.
Yeah.
And then, they're afraid to be lonely. And then from that space of mind, they go and they meet people.
Hmm.
And then they take a decision on
Yeah.
based on that in that state of mind. And I feel like that's like the worst time to take a decision, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
it's
Oh,
like
yeah.
it's like guys, it's okay if you're going to be alone. Like there's this saying in French. I'm sure it is in English. I don't know it, which is it's better to be alone than to be in bad company. Is
Bad
that?
company. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Same. Yeah.
So
Right.
yeah, so I'm like, when we come from a state of mind where we're, you know, degrading ourselves,
Mhm.
or making ourselves wrong, or making our, in the shoulds and the coulds and the
Yeah.
shouldn't and the couldn't and I can't. And when we come from that space of, like, we take bad decisions, and then we have sad thinking. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
sad thinking that we
Yeah.
keep recycling, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I totally know what you mean. And it's like, because it feels like the decision making, where is it coming from? Like you were saying, is it coming from insecurity? Is it coming from fear? Is it coming from desperation, which is all masked as insecurity? And, needing or thinking that a person can help us not feel insecure anymore. And we know that that doesn't work that way, that, like, which is why I think it's so amazing what we're studying, because it's like, if we can see insecure thoughts for what they are, we know that they don't mean anything about us. And it's like, oh, and again, that's like, I say that and with a giggle, because I feel like it can take so long to develop that relationship with your own personal insecure thinking, which I continue to get more distance from. But wow, right? Like when you see it, but then when it's there, the the sort of urgency to reach out for anything external becomes less, like I don't want to do it as much. And it's not like a forced thing. It's just like a natural thing, So like right now, regarding loneliness and being alone, sure, if I met somebody that I felt like there was a really great connection with that goes beyond my logical justification, sure, that sounds terrific. But I don't feel a desperation to, like, with binoculars out looking. Like, I just don't feel that. I
Yeah.
just don't.
I blame it on MacGyver, on what's his name? Not MacGyver. I blame it on Jerry Maguire.
Oh,
It's all because of Jerry Maguire. You complete me.
oh, right. Oh, yeah, that was bad.
It's like, I remember seeing that going, oh yes, I want to meet the man who's going to complete me.
Right.
It's like, yeah, it's romanticized for sure.
We,
But really, like, we are complete.
yeah,
We have everything we need. And then when we're in that space, it's kind of like, wouldn't it be cool if we could share it with someone?
right. Yeah, exactly. It's just a totally different space to come from.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I totally agree about the Jerry Maguire thing. And it's not just that, it's like, how many cultural messages do we receive about, oh my gosh, marriage, being in relationships, and I mean, so many cultural messages about what that means about you as a person, about you in society, about your worth, about your purpose. I mean, even if they're not explicit, a lot of them are explicit, but even just systems that have been in place for so long. as well.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I remember when I was younger, they'd tell me, well, if you're still single at 25, you're an old maid, you know? So I've
Wow.
been an old maid for a very long time. Can you imagine? Yes,
Oh.
yes, no, it's like, oh,
It's amazing. I mean, just that idea is shocking, right? To
yeah,
like now. I mean, wow. And also just the term old maid, it's just like, oh, that's not nice. I mean, it's like,
spinster. There's also
oh,
spinster. I'm like,
spinster.
spinster
Right.
is like, what is that word? Like, I'm French, so I mean, when
Right.
I first heard the word spinster, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's another dirty word.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Well, and I don't want to make this about gender or point
Yeah,
fingers or anything, but there isn't really an equivalent, I don't believe, of a male term.
I don't know. I don't
Uh,
know. We have Rose is not on the call with us, but she's on the Facebook Live. I'm gonna
oh,
ask
okay.
Rose to Google it. What is the male term for
Okay.
spinster? We'll see what she says.
It's probably just like bachelor or, but it doesn't have the same connotation. It's like
Or
it's
it's
not
like gigolo.
right, right, which is
I don't know. Yeah,
yeah,
which is like super cool.
cool.
Like, oh man, look at the guy. He's a gigolo.
Right, right, right.
Oh, okay. I think we've diverged from loneliness.
Right. Didn't mean this to take
Yeah.
us in that direction,
We
but
went into a tangent. We're sorry.
yeah.
But if we come back to loneliness,
Yeah.
so this weekend I just wanted to share that this weekend I really saw how it was like, don't you dare tell me I'm lonely. I am not lonely. I'm like, I'm not lonely. And then I kind of like saw that, oh, wait a second, it does happen.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen as much as it used to.
Yeah.
I think I just have less thinking about it, like
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I don't spend a lot of time thinking about it. Oh,
Yeah.
Puti, come and see JJ.
It's like, yeah.
She's like, yeah, exactly. Here.
Yeah. It's well, hello, Beauté. Hi, cute. He's so cute. I love the scruffy face. Yeah. It's just the fact of what you said about one's relationship that you have that to anything, loneliness, I mean, you name it, how that can change over time.
Yeah.
And stuff kind of gurgles up that you realize. And it's fascinating. I think it's so fascinating.
Yeah.
And same with me. I remember a time in my late 30s where it bothered me more. That's when it really bothered me more that I was single. And I was like, what's wrong with me? This isn't, I mean, it was all about there's something wrong with me. I don't think that anymore, particularly. And so this is so interesting, is that actually when I kind of stopped and didn't care as much about sort of I thought it meant about me. Then I remember sort of as I turned 40, I was like dating like crazy, and I didn't even like do it on purpose. It just kind of seemed to happen. And then I got into a serious relationship. So it was just curious to notice that like once my thinking like from inside, deep inside really shifted, that so all of a sudden different things happened that I didn't expect to happen. And again, it's fine either way. It's just interesting to sort of notice that, to notice like my internal shifts, how things change out there when they shift inside here first.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What's interesting to see is I guess it's just considering we're thinking beings, it's going to happen. And then you can resist it, or you can see it for what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Rose says, I found it.
Oh.
She says, I can't find the translation. So she's going to give me, she's going to give me a definition of spinster for men.
Okay.
It's not coming. It's not coming. She's not,
That's so funny.
she's not typing fast enough.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So interesting. So
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, it's a great, it's, you know, it's cool to actually look at it like that, to just look at it like, well, what is it? You know, what is it when it does show up? Because it's gonna show up, you know. You can do nothing about it. You can, you know, like I've had my share of, you know, self-loathing and like, find ice cream and
sure,
you know,
right. Yeah.
Bachelor for men.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah. Not exactly spinster like.
It doesn't sound exactly the same thing. So yeah, listen, I think this was a great conversation. Rose, I'm sorry I didn't send you the link. Do you have a question? I'm going to see if Rose has a question.
Okay.
And then if she doesn't, we're gonna go. There's somebody else that's listening to us. I think it's my brother or Allah. Allah was watching too. I don't know.
Yeah.
She has something to say.
Cool.
So, but we will be, do you remember the date of our next chat?
It is June, I want to say 5th, I think. I know it's the first week in June. I think it's the 5th, but I do not, here, I can look it up very quickly. Maybe in my calendar.
June 11th.
June 11th. Okay, cool. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, June 11th, we're going to have a chat. So if anybody wants to join us, we're going to be talking about dementia. And the reason why we're going to be talking about that is because my mother had it and I was her caregiver. I was looking for the English word. And JJ's mother has it. And so we're going to talk about what we've seen. I think we both actually were very fascinated by it.
Yeah.
And we have stuff that we'd like to share with you guys.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Allah, we're actually shutting it down. We're closing up. We're doing a 30-minute chat today. So Allah writes, are you taking a long break? So
closing shop.
We're closing shop for today. We're coming back. Me and JJ are coming back on the 10th, but I have a chat tomorrow and I have a chat on, nope, Friday was moved to next Tuesday. So next week I have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Cool.
So yeah.
These are great.
Yeah, I had fun.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for accepting. It was great.
Thank you for asking. It's been really fun and I'm looking forward to our next one on dementia.
I keep telling my friends, JJ and I, we just bonded. We've got the bonding thing going.
We did. It was easy.
Yeah.
we were telling some funny story. I don't remember exactly what the story was, but I was like, oh, I like her. She makes me laugh. When we were in Santa Monica, I was like, yeah, she's funny. I like her.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Merci.
Bote says bye.
Bye, Bote. Bye, Bote. Merci, Jasmine.
Ça me fait plaisir.
Oui.
Oui.
Oui. Je ne parle pas français. On peut.
I don't speak Spanish, so.
Yeah. No hay problema.
Okay. Take
All
care.
right. Bye.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.